It is a fact of the craft. Writers inspire other writers, not just through style or subject or prose, but through the love of storytelling. Viewers of the show know that we have featured countless writers, historians, and authors here on DelmarvaLife, and it's always made abundantly clear that those who love to write also love to read.
Oh yeah, and it's part of what keeps the cycle going. And whether it's an autobiography, a collection of facts and encounters, or a fantastical fictional tale, new literary influences are found and created every day. Well, one writer you probably should recognize is Andy Nunez. He's an author and amateur historian. Welcome to DelmarvaLife, Andy.
Thank you back.
So you're talking about one of your influences.
Absolutely.
On the 150th anniversary of his birth.
Yes, more or less. Yeah.
More or less? Okay.
Yeah. There's 150 years ago, my favorite writer when I was growing up was born. And he's also the influence on my cousin and I were reading his books. But let me tell you about this here fella. His name is Edgar Rice Burroughs. He was born in Chicago, 1875. His father was a major in the Union Army, so he had he had a history of the Civil War. He was kicked out of military school, joined the U.S. Cavalry, got out of the cavalry, became a cowboy. Got out of being a cowboy, paying for gold, couldn't do that. Went back to Chicago, failed at a whole bunch of businesses, and he was sitting in his office reading one of those pulp magazines back in the day, and he threw it down. He says, I can write something this good. He wrote a story about a fellow who was an ex-cavalryman, who was panning for gold, but somehow ended up on Mars. And he thought the story was so fantastic he wouldn't put it under his own name. He called himself Normal Bean. For a normal being. And he got $400 for this story, which later became the basis of a whole series of books called John Carter of Mars. Disney made a movie out of it.
Yeah.
So he next wrote a historical story, but then he got interested in writing one about Africa. And so he wrote a story about a fella whose family was shipwrecked. He was born in a little cabin on the coast of Africa. His parents died, and he was raised by apes. And everybody knows who that is.
Sounds like Tarzan.
Tarzan, apes, right. And from there, his literary career took off. He had everything: Tarzan books, Tarzan comic books, serialized newspapers, movies, television, all kinds of stuff just spun out from there. And his success allowed him to do things like buy a huge ranch in California, which he renamed Tarzana.
Okay.
After Tarzan, and it's still there. Yeah. He had his headquarters there at Rice Burroughs Incorporated, and he bought an airplane, learned to fly his own plane.
Goodness gracious.
At the age of 60-something, he became the oldest war correspondent in World War II because he witnessed Pearl Harbor.
Oh wow.
And so he was accredited as a war correspondent, traveled all over the Pacific, interviewed famous people, Japanese prisoners, things like that. And so after the war, he came home, continued to write. He died 75 years ago in his bed reading the Sunday paper Tarzan comics.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my. Okay, let me pull a little thread on this whole story. He has a connection to this area?
Yeah, a slight connection, because one of his most famous characters was born in Baltimore. That was Jane, Tarzan's wife.
Okay.
Didn't think about that.
Yeah, she was from Baltimore. And John Carter, who we talked about from Mars, was from Virginia. So we have connection.
Vague connection.
Vague connection.
It's close enough.
It's close enough, yeah. And of course his company, Edgar Rice Burroughs Incorporated, because he was smart enough to incorporate himself.
Yeah.
Still lives on, and I got to go there in 2021.
Really?
Yeah, and I got to stand on the porch where he sits and he's reading a book in one photograph.
Oh my.
I got to stand where his ashes were buried, and I got to go inside and talk to the folks there. Chris Carey, who's the media director, and Kathy Wilbanks, who's one of the office managers, and I got to see the original paintings from the covers of his novels.
Oh my God!
And just go inside and just couldn't take pictures inside his office.
Right.
But I can tell you the walls are lined with books.
Now,
And his original desk is still there that he wrote on.
now, I understand his original works have continued to be adapted even today.
Yes, yes. As a matter of fact, I was emailing Chris Carey about this segment, the media director, and he told me that not only are there new books coming out to continue the characters, but that there will be new film and TV things he's working on, including animation. He's got an anime series that they're working on called Tarzanime, and they're working on a Korak, the son of Tarzan, anime show
Oh, my
for
goodness.
TV. So yes, the legacy lives on. I mean, Tarzan is one of the most recognizable figures in the world. His name means something to just about everybody because I love his stuff.
You love you some Burroughs.
Yep.
Wow, incredible. Andy Nunez, thank you so much for talking to us today.
My pleasure.
Wonderful having you.